months in advance. But as I was flying over to good old California, some news broke in the WNBA. And some of this news is actually exciting for fans. And I feel like we have been in the trenches for the past few months covering this CBA stuff. But the WNBA finally released their schedule for the 2026 season. And they posted this press release. It says WNBA slated to tip off 30th season Friday, May 8th. Toronto Tempo makes franchise debut May 8th. Portland Fire opens season and return to WNBA on May 9th. And May 9th includes defending WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces finals rematch versus Phoenix, and Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Becker's.
The WNBA just released its 2026 season schedule, a move meant to signal confidence and momentum. Instead, the league's own stars fired back immediately, asking, "Wait, what games are we actually playing?" What was supposed to be a triumphant announcement instead sparked confusion and frustration, with players like Azura Stevens and Aya Wilson publicly questioning the timing. This wasn't celebration, it was a spotlight on a deep internal conflict. The 2026 schedule didn't just outline games. It drew the battle lines for a league facing unprecedented uncertainty.
Finals rematch versus Phoenix, and Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Becker's and the Dallas Wings. And in this whole press release, there were only two players that were mentioned, and that is Caitlin Clark and Paige Becker's. And kind of what I've noticed throughout this whole schedule release is that it feels like the Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky rivalry is finally dead. It was pretty much dead on arrival last year, but they had them play each other like 5 or 6 times. But this year, the Indiana Fever is only playing the Chicago Sky 3 times. And now it seems like the WNBA has moved on, and they are definitely pumping up this Caitlin Clark versus Paige Becker.
The new schedule, meant to showcase the league's growth, officially announced the expansion teams, the Toronto Tempo debuting on May 8th, followed by the Portland Flyers returning on May 9th. This rollout was clearly designed to highlight the WNBA's ambitious growth and expanding footprint, bringing fresh energy and new markets into the league. It's a bold statement about the league's future, welcoming new competition and eager fan bases. But the question remains, is this enough to cover up the deeper, unresolved issues behind the scenes?
Game is going to be really good, or I can't wait to see them play New York. Like, we do not know who is going to be on which team. We can obviously tell with some of the rookie contracts, like obviously Paige is still going to be in Dallas, but even with the stuff that happened with Angel Reese last year with the Chicago Sky, will she request a trade? Will Angel Reese get out of Chicago? Where would she go if she does get out of Chicago? What will the New York Liberty look like? They have a brand new coaching staff. Like, what are these expansion teams going to look like? And also, even if the players pick up the current offer that is on the table from the WNBA, that's going to change everything. Like, their maximum salaries are going from $250K to over $1 million.
Beyond expansion, the 2026 schedule sets up explosive matchups. On May 9th, the defending champion Las Vegas Aces face a finals rematch against the Minnesota Lynx, while Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever clash with Paige Becker's and the Dallas Wings, a pairing already sparking controversy. The league is clearly leaning into individual star power, crafting high-stakes games designed to grab attention and drive viewership. It's a calculated strategy to showcase its biggest names from day one, ignite rivalries, and keep fans glued to the screen.
Like that gets involved, I could see players chasing the money. Like, are these players just going to stay with the franchise so they can try to win a chip, or are they going to go for what team is going to offer them the max amount of money? And so I think that we're going to see so many moving parts. Like, I predict that this WNBA free agency period is going to be like the Wild Wild West, especially because the CBA is still not finished, so they're already behind on free agency. Like, free agency should have already been started. But I think it's going to be crazy. I think even a team like Minnesota, like obviously you could see Fee staying there and you could see Minnesota giving her a max contract, but some of these big time role players, they might try to get more money elsewhere. Like, we just don't know. We don't even know.
When money like this gets involved, anything can happen. Players will have to decide, stay with a franchise to chase a championship, or follow the team offering the biggest paycheck. Expect major movement across the league. This WNBA free agency period could be absolute Wild West chaos, especially since the CBA isn't finalized yet. Free agency should have already started, but delays have compressed everything, making the next few weeks unpredictable. Even a stable situation, like Minnesota and a player like Fee, could see surprises. She might stay for a max contract, but other star role players could shop around for more money elsewhere. The landscape is uncertain, and right now, no one really knows what's coming next.
WNBA season. However, does that actually mean a season is going to happen? Does that mean that they've made progress in the CBA? Not necessarily. Alexa Filippo tweeted via the WNBA, releasing the 2026 schedule is a key step as we prepare for the WNBA's 30th season and allow teams, partners, broadcasters, and fans to begin the essential planning for the year ahead. The league views the schedule release as a necessary part of business operations that allows teams to start logistical planning, sell ticket packages, also to secure optimal arena dates, all the more crucial for teams who don't own their arenas. And that was something that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
In a revealing marketing move, the 2026 WNBA schedule press release mentioned only two players by name, Caitlin Clark and Paige Buchers. This wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate, calculated strategy to shift the spotlight. The league is clearly doubling down on a youth-driven narrative, building fresh rivalries and excitement around these rising stars. It's a bold signal of who the WNBA believes will define its next era, leaving many established veterans unmentioned and subtly sidelined in the conversation.
I mean, this is typical. I wouldn't expect much different at this point. WNBA players deserve a higher salary and better working conditions. Send an email to WNBA leadership telling them to negotiate in good faith and pay their players fairly. So this was the same day that the schedule was released by the WNBA. And some WNBA players were actually commenting on social media, like Azare Stevens commented under an Instagram post that said the WNBA releases 2026 season schedule amid CBA negotiations. And she just commented a bunch of question marks. And then Asia Wilson also posted on Threads. She said, me looking at.
This move also signals the quiet end of the heavily hyped, but underwhelming, Caitlin Clark versus Chicago Sky rivalry. After facing each other 5 or 6 times last season, the Indiana Fever will meet the Sky just 3 times in 2026. That's a significant cut, showing the league is no longer forcing the matchup. Instead, the WNBA is actively shaping its narratives and rivalries, making strategic adjustments based on fan engagement and player dynamics.
Unfortunately, it was just announced today that Minnesota Lynx guard Kayla McBride suffered a torn quad muscle in her right thigh while training with her overseas team, Fenerbahce, the team announced. There is no timeline for her return yet. And Kayla McBride is a big-time player. Like, she is a huge asset for the Minnesota Lynx. And this is kind of a situation. It's so unfortunate, and hopefully she fully heals up before the WNBA season. But this is a situation when I start talking about exclusivity for the WNBA and these off-season leagues. I don't care if it's Unrivaled. I don't care if it's Project B. I don't care if it's overseas EuroLeague team. These off-season leagues are going to.
Yet, analyzing this newly released schedule feels premature, almost illogical. Free agency hasn't even started, leaving team rosters in complete flux. How can fans anticipate matchups or predict performances when we don't even know who will be playing? It creates a strange paradox. A future calendar is out, but the players who will populate it remain a mystery. In essence, it's a schedule without its stars.
I totally forgot about this. So Brianna Stewart recently did an interview, and to be fair, you guys, I feel like everybody is taking this quote a little bit out of context. The interview was for her new podcast that she's starting with Miles Turner. I feel like it was like a promo interview that kind of turned into a CBA talk, and then the podcast that she's starting just got completely buried in the article because everybody's talking about the CBA. But she said, I feel like I'm just starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in regards to the WNBA CBA. By the way, this question was phrased to her like, are you seeing a light at the end of the tunnel? And she said, I feel like I'm starting to see. I didn't take any.
The uncertainty only grows when you factor in potential player movement. Will Angel Reese request a trade out of Chicago? What will the New York Liberty look like under a completely new coaching staff? And how will the expansion teams shake up the league? Without these key pieces, the schedule is just a framework, empty and lacking context. Any detailed analysis risks misleading fans. Right now, the entire league landscape is a shifting, unpredictable sand dune, constantly in motion.